Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. We have a nice, beautiful day. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going over something that I'd like to see change for MLB The Show 22. Player quirks have been a really cool addition in MLB The Show. We've had them since, I believe, 2017, and they keep adding to them, and cards are getting more and more player quirks, and it makes some cards that are a little lower overalls become a little bit better, and some of the higher overalls even better. And so I think it's a cool addition. I'm glad they have these player quirks out there. Makes some of these cards kind of unique, and you got to really pay attention to some of these player quirks out there for sure, But we're talking about one of the player quirks I believe, and I think a lot of the community believes as well, that's a little too overpowered. What is that player quirk that I'm going to be talking about? It's Outlier. Now, there's a few other things that make Outlier very OP this year, and we'll kind of cover that as well. It's not necessarily just the quirk, but there's one pitching mechanic out there as well that just really just boosts the heck out of Outlier and just makes it miserable. I'm using the word miserable to play ranked seasons for somebody like myself that can't turn on 102, 101 consistently, and it's just tough. Reaction time, especially on Hall of Fame and Legend, man, it's just, oh my, you can't, my nose is touching the monitor while trying to touch 102. It's just insane, the pitch speeds. I feel like MLB The Show is the hardest to hit in the franchise history this year, especially with the PCI changes they did later on this year in October, November. Basically, yeah, you're relearning hitting out there. Unless you're like a really top player and you can adjust really easily, I'm relearning hitting out here. But we're not here to talk about hitting today. We're here to talk about Outlier. And I am curious about y'all's opinions, so be sure to leave a comment down in the comments section, your thoughts and opinions on Outlier, pitching in general, and MLB The Show, and what your solution would be if you do think Outlier is overpowered and with pinpoint pitching, or if you think it's totally fine the way it is, there needs to be any changes whatsoever. Regardless, I'd like to have a discussion about it and learn more about everyone else's thoughts on it. What is Outlier? Outlier is a quirk for pitchers, and they give it this quirk to pitchers that can throw over 100 miles an hour. MLB The Show max pitch speed without outliers between 99 and 100 miles an hour. And this was kind of a thing in ML back in the day. We're like, man, we really want to be able to throw 102 with some pitchers like, you know, Aroldis Chapman, you got Jacob deGrom, you got Justin Verlander, just to name a few of them. We really want to be able to hit that 102 with those cards. It'd be really fun. It's MLB The Show is the most realistic sim game on the market. And so how do we do that? They decided to add these player quirks and give Outlier, which gives a 3-mile-per-hour boost to a primary or secondary pitch. Usually it's going to, obviously you're not going to put Outlier on a curveball. It's going to be on a fastball, it's going to be on a sinker, or it's going to be on a cutter. Now, a lot of these pitchers this year feels like have Outlier, and the pitching speeds this year, it is tough to hit these Outlier pitches. And one of the biggest complaints I have is the ability of players to use Outlier and how long they're able to throw a fastball with Outlier through the entirety of the game. Now, obviously, we've had some examples of Justin Verlander in the past in the 7th or 8th inning, still gassing in at 102, pissed off. Love that video. And there are some pitchers that can be late starts late in the ball game, and they can still be throwing 101, 102. I'm not trying to take away from that at all. We're trying to balance this more from a video game perspective. Sure, it's great to have a equal sim game out there, but the way pitching works this year in MLB The Show, having 102 consistently during the game with pinpoint pitching, it's the hardest it's ever been to hit. Sure, pitch speeds I'm thinking about now, sure, pitch speeds may not be as fast as maybe MLB The Show 15, some may say, but the ability to dot your pitches with pinpoint pitching is just, it's a little too OP. They've done a few updates to it, trying to make it a little bit harder to get perfect input and everything, but there still is a pinpoint glitch in MLB The Show, and they tried to mask that with adjusting the PCI range, but there's still a glitch in the game with that. But we're not here to talk about how to do that glitch because I don't want to teach any more people, man. I see too much in ranked seasons already. Also with pinpoint, there's a stamina glitch in the game where if you use pinpoint pitching, you can use a starter for about 160 to 180 pitches. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. And you can throw 102. I think like 2 weeks ago, I faced Justin Verlander. He threw 175 pitches, and over 100 of them were fastballs at 101 to 102. It was tough. It was tough. So you're thinking clutch, okay, you're talking about Outlier being OP, hitting 102. The pitchers in the game can go 8, 9 innings, you know, throwing 102 consistently. They can dot the corners consistently with 102, and they're not getting that stamina penalty like they do with meter and analog. If you use meter and analog, depending on your input there, you can increase that power so you can hit that 102, but when you do that, your stamina drains a little bit faster with those pitchers. Also, your accuracy does drop a bit when you try to hit that 102 with the meter and the analog. With pinpoint pitching, there's no really power behind pinpoint pitching. You got 3 inputs there. You got your you got your timing input, and then you got your accuracy input. There's no power input of how hard you're going to throw, which is, I like the way pinpoint pitching is, but they need to figure out a system where there needs to be a power input somehow, or be able to limit the amount of outlier pitches you throw. Or something that I think that should be done is the more fastballs you're throwing with outlier, your pitch accuracy for that pitch slowly gets away, and that little range for the fastball, it's so tiny, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when you're in the 8th inning trying to bring 102, you're not going to be able to throw that pitch accurately the entire time. Maybe one pitch in the AB, you can dot that thing, but after that, it starts to grow pretty big. Something needs to happen like that. It really does. It's tough out there. And the amount of pitchers this year that have outlier keeps growing. And I feel like with the Team Affinity Stage 5 release that just came out, they gave outlier to a few pitchers. You're just like, you're adding outlier to them to kind of help balance out the meta. Because right now, the meta in MLB The Show before Team Affinity Stage 5 was the following. You had Jacob deGrom. You had Justin Verlander. You probably had Nolan Ryan out there as well. Then you throw in Walter Johnson, Nate Pearson, Lefty Grove, and that's basically it. That's all you would see. Maybe a little bit of Shohei Ohtani too, but he did not have outlier. Part of the reason I'm making this video too, because I have been struggling with my hitting, but it's outlier is just such a big meta in MLB The Show this year. There is some pitchers at the higher difficulties, because your PCI shrinks when you get the Hall of Fame and Legend, that are pretty darn good. We're talking about like Felix Hernandez, Clayton Kershaw, Cliff Lee, the control artists. But they're only better at the higher levels. I've used those cards, the lower levels in All-Star, and those fastballs coming in at 92 to 95 miles an hour on All-Star, they literally look like BP to most people. You get on Hall of Fame, the fastball looks like it's coming in at 98, even though it's at 95, and then your PCI is smaller, a little bit more sensitive on the PCI as well, harder to hit. So like I was saying, how do we fix that? I really do feel that they need to fix pinpoint pitching. That's the first step that makes outlier a little bit harder, is fix pinpoint pitching so the stamina does not last forever. Second thing I think they need to do is the more outlier pitches you throw, your accuracy on those pitches needs to slowly decrease, and even slow down the miles an hour. Make it, start 102 with Verlander in first inning. In the 8th inning, he's probably not going to be able to throw 102. It's going to be probably around 99 to 100. You should not be able to have outlier and throw 102 for more than a few innings, to be honest. Like Aroldis Chapman coming in, throwing 102 for an inning or inning and a third, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Justin Verlander throwing 102 for 7+ innings, that's not realistic. He's not going to be hitting 101, 102 every single fastball. And sometimes they're going to be, I've seen pitchers that throw high heat. They've hit 98 or 99. They're not consistently throwing that hard, because if they do that in real life, they're going to absolutely destroy their arm. So, we think about realistic sim baseball games. Obviously, we're not going to have a thing like backyard baseball where you have like the juice box, and as your juice box stamina goes up, you can start throwing these special pitches like the outlier or whatever it may be. But there needs to be a nerf in the pinpoint pitching, and somewhat of an accuracy nerf in outlier, and the consistency that you can throw 102. Obviously, it's just going to take coding in the game and stuff like that. There's really nothing else they could probably change except for coding of how outlier and the fastballs work. So that's my thoughts on the outlier quirk. I'm kind of curious. Let me know down in the comment section of some of your thoughts and opinions out there. Do you think outlier is overpowered? What is your ideas and solutions to fix outlier if you do think it's overpowered, or do you think it's fine and I'm just being a whiny brat?